highly recommend that to the extent this is something the council is going to adopt, we should use the screen share function to have it displayed on screen.
Yeah, that'd be good. You can do that.
Yes, I can.
Do the same thing with the motion whenever that comes.
We can.
Morning, Mr. Mayor.
Morning.
I like your background. We have something to pledge now.
Howdy do.
Like your background.
Yeah, well, I didn't have anything here, period. So I threw it on so I could feel more important.
Good morning. Hi, Dave.
Hey,
Chief.
good morning, John.
John. Mayor. Attorney.
Councilman.
Council member. Honored guests.
Do we have any honored guests yet?
I see a few.
Oh, Captain Dupre. Hello. I don't feel like you have to answer necessarily. I'm just going through seeing things.
Nice northern lights.
Hello, Councilman San Martin.
Hello,
Looks like
Mr.
we
Mayor.
have-
How are you, sir?
Very well. Who's that?
Dave Dupre,
Mr.
FWC.
Ah, there you go. I was looking at somebody else and hearing you.
These people, you realize what idiots people are running this town anyway.
John Bardis, good morning.
Another brilliant,
Good morning.
another brilliant person. I'm gonna mute myself.
Yeah, I just turned off so I can save some bandwidth here.
How many fingers on one hand? How many fingers on one hand? Let's all
We're gonna go with 5 on that one.
Ms. Bonilla, can you please mute yourself?
to beat. Let's all count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Galen. Steve Cook.
Yes, Mayor Cook?
Question, are we reading this statement regarding virtual meetings?
No, I believe you guys have adopted that already, correct? To the extent you wanted to just maybe read the brief blurb about how public comment can be made just before the public comment section, but it's not that whole virtual script. And I'd be happy
All
to
right, so
read that if you'd
Galen, I
like.
need to re-ask the question. I gotta read. Galen, I didn't hear a word you said. It dropped me out, and I'm now back.
So you have
I was
already
asking about the statement.
You've already adopted the virtual meeting script, Mayor Cook. So the only thing that it's an optional to read it at this point, but I would just recommend, since this is an emergency meeting, just reading the procedures for public comment just before the public comment section. I'd be happy to do that if you'd like. Just the phone number into the record, just so anybody who wishes to make public comment can dial in if they'd like. And I think we may have lost Mayor Cook again. Sir, can you please text me Steve's number? I'm going to try to call him and make a... Mayor Cook, can you hear me now?
This is gonna be a shit show. Sort of.
Might I recommend that you leave your
Please
video
talk.
on and dial in with your phone? That'll save you some bandwidth.
Well, I don't know how that would, I mean. Oh.
Also have to say nice background, Steve.
I think I see your iPhone connected, Steve, so go ahead and try to say something. Steve, I believe your iPhone is connected now. Go ahead and try to say something.
Something.
There you go. We can hear you loud and clear, and your video is not even coming in very choppy now.
Okay, great. All right, so this is a special call meeting for 24 July 2020. I'd like to call this meeting to order. I'm pretty certain that Sheriff Ramsey and Don Hiller are in attendance, as well as Captain Dave Dupre of FWC. If we could all rise and recite the pledge as led by Vice Mayor Louis Gonzalez.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Thank you, sir.
Would Diane, could you please call the roll?
Councilmember Bartis,
Here.
Councilmember Sim Martin,
Here.
Councilmember Zig,
Here.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
Here.
Mayor Cook,
Here.
we have a quorum.
All right, Mr. Jones, would you please go through again what we need to speak about regarding electronic meetings?
I'm not going to go through the whole speech, Mr. Mayor,
No.
but members of the public who may wish to view the city council meeting, there's somebody who needs to mute their phone. Members of the public who wish to view the city council meeting may do. Members of the public who wish to view the city council meeting may do so by watching local via the web at www.youtube.com/channel/UCFIMG, and the entire link may be found on the agenda and the public notice uploaded to the website for this meeting. Members of the public who wish to comment on matters before the city council may do so either by calling 305-289-4130 or emailing cityofmarathon@ci.marathon.fl.us, or by calling 301-715-852, and upon receiving a voice prompt, dialing meeting ID 781-088-0141, password 33035. Please mute yourself upon entry. Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Next, we had a meeting, this special call meeting regarding boat ramps called by Vice Mayor Gonzalez. Vice Mayor, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to staff and thank you, Dirk, for all of your efforts in putting this together in such a short notice. Good morning to all that are here listening today. As we all know, Key Largo and Islamorada have closed their unmanned boat ramps during the mini season. The county in Key Largo has opened Harry Harris and Sunset to locals only. Islamorada has Founders Park open to locals and lodging guests during the mini season period. Here in Marathon, we know that we have 3 public boat ramps. One is off of US 1 next to the old Quay property. One is at the end of 33rd Street, and one is in the residential neighborhood behind the airport off of Harbor Drive. Our boat ramps, we know, are overran on a normal, and now you add mini season and the closure to the ramps to the north of us, and we're setting up ourselves for a disaster if no action is taken to minimize the impact from the large amount of day trippers that can be expected. We also know that the majority of our visitors for this weekend, for this mini season, usually arrive this weekend, and they use our ramp facilities prior to Tuesday. Therefore, the purpose of this meeting is I would like to propose closing the city ramp to local use only on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. This effort will help minimize large groups of people at boat ramps, and it will mitigate the impact on our local community that will definitely be inevitable with day trippers making their way to Marathon with the closure of the ramps to the north of us. And Steve, that's what I have, and I really appreciate the opportunity for us to have this type of dialogue today, if anybody else would like to chime in.
Well, actually, here's how I would like to do this. I would like to ask for public comment first. Then I want to go to the guest comments and council discussion to where we can have everything on the table before we start discussing, and then we have to rediscuss. So
Perfect.
at this point, I'd like to, Mr. Jones, if you can find the first person in the queue that is slated to speak, either Mr. Jones or maybe Diane. Please call the first public person who wants to talk.
I know Michelle Frank would like to speak. If she's
Thank you,
on.
Ms. Frank. State your name and where you live. Ms. Frank, state your name and where you live. Please call the first commenter. All right, I guess we move on to the next commenter. Maybe she'll come back. Are we at a standstill here?
Anybody who wishes to make public comment that's on the line is free to do so. I would ask that they raise their hand if they're in the Zoom chat or dial 9 if they're on the phone.
Good morning.
Well, state your name and where you live, please.
My name is Ingrid Tyree and I live on 49th Street. I would just like a clarification of what these rules are going to be as far as over renting inside of a house and also who to call when they're in our canals. Just some clarification because I know there's a lot of misinformation out there.
All right, I'm sorry, but this meeting particularly is about the boat ramp closure. If you need to call City Hall, and they will give you any information that you need about the vacation rental occupancy load and or any load that may not result because of this meeting. Is there anyone else?
Yes,
Yeah,
I
hello.
do have Michelle. Sorry. I do have Michelle Frank. She's asking that we call her. So if you can just give me a moment.
Is there anyone else that can speak before we get to her?
Ms. Shauna Gaskill made a comment in the chat. I don't know if she's connected to this call. If she would like to speak, I'll go ahead and unmute her now.
Okay, so we can keep it moving.
Hey, yeah, I'm just saying that if you do have the
Please
closure.
state your name. Please
sorry.
state your name and where you
All right, Shauna Gaskell, Cocoa Plum Beach. We're just that we gotta make. Sorry.
I do have Michelle Frank. She's asking that we call her. So if you can just give me a moment.
That's fine. We actually Gaskill speaking to her.
Ms. Shauna Gaskill made a comment in the chat. Somebody has the YouTube chat running in the background. I would ask them to mute that if they're going to unmute their microphones.
Okay. Keep it moving.
Oh, can I talk now? Is it okay?
Please.
Okay, no, just that if, I don't know if this is Marathon or who, but if all the public boat ramps are gonna be closed at certain times, the word's gotta get out on US 1 and Florida City, Miami, whatever, social media, just to let the day trippers know. Otherwise, it's gonna be a cluster, you know what, if with everybody driving down here looking for places.
Can I talk now? Is
Public
it okay?
ramps are closed.
Okay, no, just that if,
Thank you so much. Yes? Are you still speaking?
I know I'm done. I'll remute.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Gaskill. I appreciate that.
Mr.
We
Mayor,
have,
whoever is on the 203 phone number has the YouTube channel running in the background that is going to result in us hearing ourselves talk. So please mute the YouTube channel if you are going to speak.
I have Michelle Frank on the phone.
all right, Ms. Frank, please state your name and where you live.
Thank you so much. Good morning, Council. My name is Michelle Frank, and I live at 7967 Gulfstream behind the airport. I have been spending my summers here in the Keys my entire life. I have been a full resident of the Middle Keys since 1988, and I currently reside behind the airport, and I really love our town. As I see it, the reason for this special meeting is to provide some protection for the citizens of Marathon from the day trippers. As you all know, Monroe County will be shutting down the boat ramp in the Upper Keys. Isla Mirada will be shutting down their boat ramp to visitors to their island. So where will that leave the first public boat ramp available? And that is here in Marathon. I appreciate you, Louis, for calling the special meeting to discuss what we can be assured will be a tremendous influx of day trippers from the north to our boat ramp. Think about it for a second. The lines will be extraordinarily long to put your own personal boat in and out of the water. And I'm not sure exactly where all these boat trailers will be parked while these people are out of the water for the day. The thought of closing the ramps for 3 days allows locals to put their boats in before and take them out after mini season. And vacation rentals check in and out on Saturdays, which leaves them plenty of time to put their boat in and take them out before they check out. Rainy season is always a crazy time down here, but imagine Marathon with all of the boat ramps north of us closed. On a typical weekend, the boat ramp on the corner of Aviation and Harbor is a mess. I have been yelled at, sworn at, given the finger multiple times by people who have decided to park their truck and trailer on Aviation, which does not allow us to go by to get to our homes back in our neighborhood. The traffic is ridiculous already, and I cannot imagine what this finish season will be like. Thank you to our sheriff's department, who has always been doing their best to manage the situation. I feel so bad for those that live on Harbor. The lines to the boat ramp have extended all the way down the road, and these neighbors of mine at times cannot even get out of their driveway. I encourage our city council to be strong and come up with a solution and vote what is best for your constituents. I cannot speak for everyone in Marathon, but the vast majority of people that I have spoken with are in favor of some kind of boat ramp closure during this particular mini season time. Please do the right thing for your neighbors. We need your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Frank. Anyone else? Public comment?
Yes, can you hear me?
State your name and where you live.
John Kearns, Copa de Oro in Marathon. So,
Thank
as
you.
I understand it, the Upper Keys and Islamorada have closed their boat ramps starting, I think, tomorrow. Why are we not doing the same? Why are we waiting until Wednesday?
Exactly.
It seems to me that we're doing it halfway, that we are protecting the businesses that are renting places and not protecting the residents. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you for your comments. Is there any other public comment?
Miss Wendy Bonilla has her hand up. I'm going to unmute her now.
Thank you. Ms. Bonilla, please. Where do you live?
How are you? I am
Very
Wendy
well.
Bonilla. I live on Tuna Drive. I've been down here since '92, and we have seen every year that this is a mess. Closing the boat ramp is going to help for the day trippers, but what are you planning on doing for the rest of the season as far as that's concerned, especially here in the residential Harbor Drive one, the boat ramp here? Because it just wraps around this neighborhood like it's, I mean, Louis, you got family here that, that has to deal with it every weekend. I mean, it's not just going to be this couple days. I mean, it's going to be the whole lobster season that we have an issue and a problem because the quay's closed down.
All right, thank you. Before we get to the next commenter, let me remind everybody that the discussion here is not about the usual use and the annual use of our boat ramps during the mini season. This is really about the boat ramps and COVID. That's what this is about. All right, next comment.
Council members, I would also just point you to the chat. I have inserted a few comments being circulated on the YouTube channel into the chat to everybody in Zoom.
All right. There's a lot of them. Are we supposed to be reading these out loud? On the
No, but they are being circulated to the council for their review.
Okay. All right. Thank you. At this point, if we don't have any more public comment, I would invite our guests.
There is one more person if he's on the line, Jeff Pincus.
Okay. Thank you.
If not, maybe he wants us to call him if you want to stand by.
Okay.
I'm getting text. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read everything.
All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. You are on the line with the council. Uh-huh.
Good morning.
Please state your name.
Jeff. My name is Jeff Pincus, Pinkus. I do live behind the airport and am concerned about the boat ramp, but that's not a big issue here. Yesterday, I did, for the first time since I was on council, which is back about 13, 14 years ago, contact every council member. I don't know if you had the opportunity to read the email, but I would like to read into the record, if you don't mind. It has been well over 10 years since I have been on city council, and this is the first time I have emailed the council as a group. Please do not reply to the group if you reply at all. None of you replied, so I assume nobody read it. If I remember correctly, above all, is the duty of a city council person to look out for the best interest of the residents of Marathon. So far, in my opinion, you have not been forward-thinking when it comes to keeping Marathon as safe as possible from the current pandemic we are experiencing. Islamorada, weeks ago, had the foresight to close all municipal boat ramps and beaches through August 15th. The county then followed suit, closing facilities in the Upper Keys. Well, that puts the crunch on Marathon service visitors to the Middle and Upper Keys. It has come to my attention on making a recommendation to close the speedboat ramp from Tuesday through Friday to cover the 2 sport dive days next week. That will accomplish little to nothing. Boats start launching on Saturday and Sunday, and that is when the vehicles come and go. Not the day trippers with boats. It makes sense to close the boat ramps and beaches from Saturday, July 25th at 12:01 a.m. through Sunday, August 23rd at 11:59 p.m. This would send a message to visitors that they are not welcome during the current crisis we are experiencing, and also send a message to the residents of Marathon that you actually do care about them rather than the absentee owners of vacation rentals and hotels and motels. Not closing for the reason that most accommodations are booked in advance is not a valid reason. If you remember back in March, the entire county closed to all visitors at the height of the tourist season to help prevent the spread of COVID-19. That worked very well, while reopening June 1st sure has proven to have defeated that effort. Keeping the dollars flowing is nowhere near as important as keeping the health of our community. With our number of positive cases now exceeding 1,000, please make a decision that will benefit the greatest number of residents. Someone I remember once said, many outweigh the needs of the few. Thank you for your time and service to the residents of Marathon, and above all, stay safe and well. Well, that's the end of the email. But my comment is actually, you really need to think about long term. If you're going to close for 2 or 3 days, again, it's not going to do anything. It needs to be closed at a minimum from tomorrow. So when the visitors come in, they start coming in tomorrow for the vacation rentals. And then after that, April or August 6th, you're going to be having a major influx once again. So why have to call a special meeting again next week to close for the following week? Do it all in one lump sum. Close them now and close them till August 23rd or 24th through the next following weekend. Thank you for your time.
Excellent statement.
Okay.
Thank you.
Also, there's Armin Messina would like to speak.
Sorry?
Armand Messina would like to speak as well.
Very well. Mr. Messina, state your name and where you live. Mr. Messina, state your name and where you live, and then comment away.
It's Armin Messina, 81 Cocoa Plum Drive.
Go ahead.
Yeah, closing the boat ramps and everything is fine, and I'm in full support of that, but how is the enforcement going to take place? Yes, sir. It's Armand Messina, 81 Cocoa Plum Drive. All right, closing the boat ramps and everything, I'm in full support of. The problem I see is going to be with the enforcement.
Guess I don't have an answer for that.
I mean, it's going to be a cluster. It's Armand Messina, 81 Cocoa Plum Drive.
I'm going to assume that the mayor has connection difficulties again.
Are we live or?
Yeah, we're supposed to be, but I guess I don't have an answer for the enforcement.
Mr. Mayor, if you're there. This is something we will be discussing when we get the sheriff's office online.
It is going to be a major, major issue, and it's going to involve quite a bit. As I can tell, people are going to be quite agitated, especially with the short notice. And that's what I got to say about it. Please do something about that. All right. Thank you. It's going to be a cluster.
Maybe Mr. Mayor wants to take the mayor to answer. Louis, are you still there?
The mayor has connection difficulties again.
Again, I would ask whoever's on the line, please mute your phone if you're not speaking. If you also have the YouTube channel being broadcast, please mute that in the background. Otherwise, we will hear ourselves talking, please.
Okay, obviously, Mr. Mayor's not able to answer. Mr. Vice Mayor, can you grab the meeting?
Got it.
Thank you.
Okay, Galen. Is there
Yes,
anybody
Mr.
else
Vice
out
Mayor.
there? Is there anybody else out there that needs to speak?
There was a
I'd like to
gentleman there.
Go ahead, state your name, please.
Okay, guys, look. It's getting a bit insane here.
Can I speak?
Yes, please state your name.
Yeah, my name is Dr. Charles Neiditz. I live on 7730 Gulfstream Boulevard behind the airport. And I would just like to say, from a physician's point of view, recently retired from the Baptist healthcare system, that it is imperative that any place that a city can limit congestion will help limit the spread of this COVID-19 virus. We have seen epidemic proportions in the last 2 weeks, as you all know. As you may also know, the hospital up in Mariners is more than 50% full, and we are certainly soon to fill that hospital up. There are people on ventilators in the facility, and we need to do whatever we can to limit the spread of this virus, and that includes decreasing the crowded and congested places that boat ramps and other things like it will cause. Please consider doing whatever can be done to decrease congestion in our city and decrease the spread of this terrible disease. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments, sir. Are there any more public comments?
Gentleman named Charlie Neitz had asked to speak, and I provided his phone number to Diane in the chat.
All right, we shall wait.
He's the one that just spoke.
Okay, that was Charlie Neitz. Very good. If that is all, I would like to move on to let's do the sheriff's office.
Mr. Mayor?
Apologies, Mr. Mayor. Somebody named Isabel Collazo has asked to speak as well.
All right, Ms. Collazo, would you please state your name and where you live?
Sure. My name's Isabel Collazo. I have 2 rental homes in Marathon, and I'm from Miami, Florida. I self-manage my homes.
I can't get it.
Okay. So my comments are, I understand that you want to close the boat ramp, but we do have people that have booked their stays over a year ago to come back, and we have regulars that come back on a regular basis. If we close boat ramps to them, then we are alienating them from coming back to our city. And we all know the restaurants, the people that work for, let's say me, that clean the homes, that come and do landscaping, we all need to keep our visitors happy to a certain extent. So please keep that in mind when you're talking about closing boat ramps a day before they're supposed to throw their boats in the water. I know they have reached out to me after our Monroe County meeting, and I specifically said, oh, City of Marathon is not closing their boat ramps. You need to follow protocol, and all of them are following protocol. We as owners are leaving masks for them. We're leaving hand sanitizer for them. We're doing the extra cleaning. I think you really have to think about this as a whole to the City of Marathon, not just closing the ramps and that's it. Thank you.
But you as a renter in Miami.
Excuse me,
cannot-
who is this?
Cannot,
This isn't a discussion back
rent
and
to
forth.
People. Yeah, cannot rent to people.
I'm sorry, this isn't a
Mr. Mayor, I'm
discussion.
going to I am going to mute everybody, and the council can unmute themselves as soon as I've done that.
Thank you.
Mr.
All right,
Mayor?
let's just, Mr. Bartis,
Thank you. Deborah
I don't
Wonderland.
want to
here.
entertain your discussion yet,
It's
unless
not,
you have
it's,
a point of order or something.
it's a point of order. Deborah Wonderland is on. She's waving her hand saying that she would like to speak.
Okay, is she in line to speak? Mr. Jones?
She was in line to speak, Mr. Mayor. I'm going to go
Okay.
ahead and unmute her now.
That's great. That's great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bartis.
Hi, Deborah Wonderland, a longtime Marathon resident. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to speak briefly. I have to say that I am not a resident of the neighborhood behind the airport. I think that's a long-term discussion that needs to be done in the future about how that affects those neighbors. But I also agree with the previous speaker. Many, many people are on their way down here, ready to put their boats in, and to close the boat ramps tomorrow with less than 24 hours notice, I think it's just going to incense people and really give us a bad name and inconvenience more people who have made plans, like the speaker said, a year in advance or more. I certainly support closing the boat ramps from Tuesday through Friday for our day trippers. And I appreciate your counsel. I appreciate the last minute meeting, but I think that could have been done a little earlier. And I think we need to get ahead of some of this stuff, considering the pandemic and the unique situation we're in. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, for taking the lead on this. And thank you all for your hard work and dedication to the city.
Thank you, Ms. Wonderland. Mr. Jones, do we have anybody else in line to speak?
Not
as
that I'm
public?
aware of.
All right, let's move on to the sheriff's office. I'm not sure who's there. I can't see anymore, so.
Good morning, Mayor. It's Captain Don Hiller, Lieutenant Derek Paul, and Sheriff Rick Ramsey.
Thank you, sirs. I guess the question really being is enforcement. That's one of the things that has come up. Because we would have to enforce any of these closures. How are you guys staffed to deal with this?
Well, obviously, we're not planned on something for something like this. This is a big event, and our assets, everyone, including myself and my lieutenant, will be out enforcing laws on those days. Certainly wouldn't want to be at a boat ramp when we could be out enforcing law violations. This 72 hours of closure, it's got to be paid and staffed by someone. If it's law enforcement, it's a big burden for us that we didn't anticipate 3 days before a major event.
All right. I guess same question.
The other issue I'd add to it is the traffic, the confrontations, the traffic. with a lack of notice that's gone out, I think it's going to be a nightmare, to tell you the truth. Congestion, headaches for the people that legitimately should be launching their boats. Myself, my lieutenant, we worked 2.5 months at this checkpoint on the county line, and we had extensive amount of advertisement, public, keys are closed, you can't come in without this information, etc. And we were still turning hundreds and 1,000 cars a day around, totally oblivious to what was required. So this is 4-day notice, and with no notice, I think it's going to be a big major congestion. The other issue, in my opinion, it's an unnecessary confrontation with my staff. You brought up, Mayor, about the COVID. We now have to stop every vehicle, go hand to hand, checking documents, face to face with these people. And I don't know if that's really a wise thing to do at this stage.
All right, thanks, Captain. I'd like to ask the same question of Captain Dupree.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for joining this conversation. Simply put, I concur 100% with what Captain Hiller said. FWC is already short-staffed. We're bringing people in to assist. However, what's going to happen is when traffic interferes with our law enforcement partners, when we have fights and disputes at the boat ramps, FWC will be off the water. We'll be supporting the sheriff's office. We'll be supporting FHP. We'll be dealing with all of the criminal and civil infractions that are going on in other places possibly due to these closures. No question about what others have said about protecting our community from COVID. But now is unfortunately not the time. I promise the information cannot get out quickly enough. Right now, speaking to others around me, once this plan is made, the city and perhaps the county is already at a plan to advertise and get that information up to Miami. I strongly believe that it is insufficient time to get any percentage of people notified in time to come down here, or not to come down here to the Keys. Let me correct that again, not to come down here to the Keys. They will be coming regardless at this point in time. And then the sheriff's office primarily, then FWC and FHP will be dealing with all the problems. The COVID, if it comes down, is going to be in the Keys, in a traffic jam, in a fight, in an encounter, in a violation, and we're going to contend with it. So it's unfortunate. Mostly this is a time issue. Thank you.
All right, thank you. If you guys, MCSO, Captain Hiller and Captain Dupree, FWC, if you guys could stand by for council discussion, they may have questions for you as well. I would like to now open this to council discussion.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Bartis, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. And I do have a question for both the sheriff's office and Dave Dupree. Is if the ramps were just closed, period, would that make your jobs any easier?
No doubt. If you totally shut it down, that would make a big difference because we wouldn't have to deal with the traffic control, the traffic lines, people arguing about he can launch, but I can't. We wouldn't have to be confrontational, touching documents, trying to justify who can and can't launch. And we wouldn't have to be sitting at the boat ramp because you'll probably put a barricade there. We could be, at that point in time, out on the water, on the boats, jet skis, and trying to do enforcement. So yes, it would be a game changer if that's what you are still looking to do. That would not adversely impact the sheriff's office.
Mr. Dupree?
Hi, Mr. Mayor, excuse me, Mr. Vice Mayor. They're going to still end up, if they close in Marathon, it's a good chance they'll be pushing things further south. I'm concerned about traffic backing up at the 7 Mile Bridge boat ramp, Spanish Harbor boat ramp. I don't know how far south the day trippers are gonna go. Keep in mind, this is something that is new to all of us and we're all trying to speculate and estimate based on our experience. But if we continue to push them south of Marathon, we're going to have problems, I believe, on US 1. I wish FHP was possibly here to discuss it. And Sheriff, I don't know if you concur with that or not, sending them below Marathon, whether that would affect US 1 and the boat ramps south of the 7 Mile Bridge?
There will, you know, for every action is a reaction, and we will see some other related impacts. You know, people going north, south, central, trying to find a place to launch, going to marinas. Marinas will probably see a big intick in launching at marinas, and potentially, yes, they will move south. There were, I think, 5 state ramps in the south end, south of 7 Mile Bridge, 5 or 6. So that's something to factor in for sure.
Thank you, gentlemen. Mr. Bartis?
Thanks very much. That's the that's all I really have for now. Hear what everybody else has to say. I may chime back in a little later. I just think we need to take it, you know, if we're talking about public safety for everyone and minimizing the exposure, we've just been given a lot more to think about by our law enforcement partners. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bartis. Other council? I'm looking to hear from someone from the council.
Mr. Mayor, Councilman San Martin.
Councilman San Martin, you have the floor.
Thank you. Look, I agree with Vice Mayor Gonzalez. I think closing the boat ramps. Look, let's just put this in real simple terms. The quay ramp is effectively closed right now. Could they open it? Could they open the gates and let people in? Yeah, they could. The road, all the underbedding would be destroyed. We're already over a month behind on repairing that ramp. So that means it's going to get much worse before it gets a chance to get better. So by keeping that ramp closed, we look at Aviation as the closest ramp to Miami, the closest public ramp, and then 33rd Street. You know, it is a undue pressure on the road and on the residents behind the airport on any given weekend. Right now, as a matter of fact, people are sending me pictures of what the ramp looks like currently, and we're not even there yet. So I think the Aviation ramp most definitely should be closed. So to me, I'm looking at 33rd Street being closed except for local traffic. That's what I would like to see. I understand and completely respect the Sheriff's Department's position and FWC's position. And I'm not sure what to say. I put my money where my mouth is. I will lock my doors to my store for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week and volunteer to help man the position. I think it's worth it. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Councilman San Martin. Dr. Zig, what do you got? Dr. Zig, would you like to speak?
Yes, I finally got it unmuted. Thank you very much.
There you go.
There have been many, many good points. Frankly, I thought we had resolved this at our meeting last week, but I'm very happy that Vice Mayor Gonzalez brought it forward. I think that the input from our law enforcement agencies is vital to our decision today. So I agree with them that just closing the ramp entirely Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday seems like a reasonable move. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Zig. I had also a few comments, but they were answered by Sheriff Ramsey and Captain Hiller and Captain Dupree. So I guess moving forward.
Mr. Mayor, I believe Mr. Lindsay has his hand up.
Is there a motion of any? Okay, Mr. Lindsay, in the process. My mistake. Please go ahead.
Hey, sorry, Council. I just wanted to ask MCSO a quick question.
Please, I'm sorry.
And thanks to Mark for bringing up the issue about the contractor being behind schedule on the quay. We do have it scheduled to be opened for mini season. However, yeah, obviously it would do a little bit of damage to the underlane that they'd have to repair before they pave it. But we do have it scheduled to be open. My question to MCSO is, if the quay were to be open and the 33rd Street would be open, but we closed aviation, do you think that would be unmanageable as a potential option, or do you think that would put too much pressure on those two boat ramps? And the only reason why I bring that up is those are more, they're not in residential neighborhoods. There's less chance of transmission and stuff to residents if they're out on the highway. Just a thought.
You're closing one third of your boat ramps by doing that, number one. Number two is, if you want us to still check IDs and verify that they live here, it's a very small percentage that we're going to be encountering with day trippers versus the people that are legitimately here. Or, if you close them during the Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, those are a lot of locals that do bully netting. They get off work, they go out, so you're basically shutting them off. And you'd have to have 24-hour coverage, because people launch their boat at 8 o'clock at night sometimes. People launch their boat at 7 in the morning. So you got to close it. We got to cover it for 72 hours. But I definitely would see, if only 2 ramps, we would be swamped, and we definitely, like we've seen it before. So we have a lot of backups, and adding on that, we'd have to do ID checks and verifications. Double that.
Okay, thanks, Ken.
Yeah, sorry, Chuck, for stepping on you and moving ahead without talking to you. Very sorry.
No, sir, no problem at all. This is your guys' decision. I just want to make sure that we can logistically make whatever happen that you guys like.
Certainly. I mean, the decision has to come based on our ability to respond to it. And if there is no ability to really respond to it, then that has to be factored in. And so I apologize for not giving you the opportunity. Back to council. Anyone? Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I'll chime in. Captain Hiller, what would be the possibilities of possibly just manning the Harbor Drive boat ramp, which we know impacts the community the greatest? Would you have the manpower to man one instead of the 3 with the ID checks?
We're in place right now. We have a plan for managing the traffic and the law, enforcing the laws in there, keeping traffic open for the residents so that there's no congestion. It's going to be congested, but we're going to make it as painless as possible for the people that have to live back there. We're having an officer assigned there to do. We would have to sign at least 1 or 2 more just to have them checking the vehicles down for verifications, and that would cause backups along aviation itself. So one officer is going to be there to expedite the launching, make sure they're not blocking traffic, make sure they're not blocking somebody's house. That's one full-time job we're going to have there. The whole ID check is a whole nother deal. You got to have at least 1 or several more to do that, to expedite the situation. We had on the checkpoint, we had 10 people, and we were still backed up, miles sometimes. People show up and they have no idea that they had to bring anything. They had no idea, and then you have to turn them around. So,
is this something that you guys could do?
Manpower, for me to mandate someone come in with our union, I have to give them a 14-day notice that you're coming in. We do this for big events, for the 7 Mile Bridge, 4th of July. You're working that day. We tell them well in advance. We need all hands on deck. I can't mandate certain people come in. I can ask for volunteers. I can pay it overtime. It's nothing I can guarantee right now, manpower. All my people on those days are going to be working law enforcement, jet skis, boats, roadside environmental checks. So I would have to pull assets off those to go sit at a boat ramp and check IDs.
Okay. Chuck, is this something that we could possibly use funds to do detail officers?
If the sheriff's department has officers available for details, I mean, that's a decision for the council whether they want to budget amend funds for that. I mean, we can find funds, Vice Mayor, but that would be your guys' decision to make if you want to do that.
Hey, Chuck, may I break in for a second? And Vice Mayor, did we get a hold of the city manager from KCB to see if we had any of their police as well, or any kind of support from KCB, since a lot of their houses will be obviously plugging our ramps as well.
Well, first there would be a discussion on whether or not KCB would apply to this. When you guys spoke about locals, I didn't know exactly what you meant by locals, if you meant Monroe County or just Marathon residents. So that might be a good discussion to have if this applies to Key Colony. And secondly, to answer your question.
That's not really what I'm. Go ahead.
To answer your question, yes, I did speak with the city manager. They are very shorthanded that week. Their officer, they've got to have officers on the water, and they've got a few that are out. So they were challenged on how much support that they could give us, but they did offer to give whatever they could.
Thank you. Vice Mayor, go ahead.
No, I was just, my final question was to Chuck in reference to if we went that direction to pay for the officers.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Burtis.
Thank you, Mr. Cook. This is another one of those trying to figure out the best way to, do an impossible task. And again, probably directed to our law enforcement officers as well. Closing 33rd, I'm closing the Harbor Drive boat ramp to everyone except residents with your dynamic message signs posted that the other boat ramps would be open, and then leaving the other boat ramps open basically for people to splash boats. Is that something that's a little more doable?
We can surely put the signs up, but I believe when most people pull there already and they're already behind the aviation, they're not going to care about the sign. They're going to try to launch unless someone's there to tell them no. They're like, we're here, I'm in line. They're not going to know if I'm local or not. I'm launching a boat here. So I think voluntary compliance based off of reading a sign is probably not likely to occur. So we would do it, but I just don't think it would solve anything, sir.
All right, thank you for that. I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that we should probably figure out to do in the future on a much more proactive basis than the reactive basis that we've been forced to do right here. What I would like to see us do is in the future work with other local governments and the FWC to come up with some possible solutions to mini season as a whole. But I've got major concerns about exposing our law enforcement officers to much more exposure than they would otherwise have. And I'll go and yield back to the mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Burtis. Great comments. Does anyone on the council have anything as far as moving forward, or are we at a standstill?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. San Martin, you have the floor.
I guess I will make the motion. I'll make a motion that we close the boat ramps except for 33rd Street and leave that open to local only Marathon residents or anyone with a valid vacation rental contract or hotel receipt that's current from Marathon.
All right,
And
we
we
have a
do-
motion.
I'm sorry, and we do that for Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next.
So basically keeping the one open at 33rd Street and the other two closed both days. The other two closed Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yes, sir.
For locals, the other two for locals only, or the other two closed?
Oh, it looked like, if I read back this, you had suggested close the Quay ramp and the aviation ramp, leave 33rd Street ramp open to locals and guests only Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, correct?
Yes, yes, sir. That's my motion.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Vice Mayor Gonzalez is the second. Diane, please call the roll.
Councilmember San Martin,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Bartis,
Yes.
Councilmember Zig,
No.
Mayor Cook,
I'm gonna vote no as well.
Motion passes.
All right, we are now going to be closing both boat ramps Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, Aviation and Quay, keeping 33rd Street open for locals and guests. I thank you in advance, sirs, members of the MCSO and Florida Fish and Wildlife.
Mr. Mayor, Mr. Mayor,
Schmitz.
For purposes of providing authority for the sheriff's office or other law enforcement to enforce the local, allowing locals but not out of town people, we need to go and consider and pass resolution 2020-43.
Ah, very good. Diane, could you please read that?
Yes, and may I also, just for clarification, we are closing that to Marathon residents and that is not Key Colony Beach, correct? I just want to be crystal clear. Sorry.
It is going to be open for Marathon residents was my motion.
Okay, thank you. Resolution 2020-43, authorizing the enforcement of trespass offenses on city property, providing for an appeal process, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Somebody want to make a motion? We have to have a motion to make this stand.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Dr. Zig. Second, anyone?
Second.
Louis Gonzalez is seconded.
Councilmember Zieg,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Sim Martin,
Yes.
Councilmember Bardis,
Yes.
Mayor Cook,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, so we have a resolution and, oh, God help us with Key Colony. All right. Anybody want to revisit that and add Key Colony? No? All right. Council comments. Let's start with Bardis. Mr. Bardis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know this is a really, we were put sort of between a rock and a hard place trying to do reactive government, which is never, ever really good. I mentioned this earlier in my comments. I would like to see the city form a task force with other local governments, the county, the village, city of Key West, and FWC to try to come up with some solutions for many seasons in the future. We need to, figure out where we are going, because a lot of the times it's not necessarily as many as the vacation rentals or our hotel guests. A lot of times it's the day trippers that are the worst in terms of violating the resource and not dealing with, common courtesies and things like that. And they're the ones that oftentimes come down and take way too many lobster and try to get hundreds out in their coolers on the way out. We need to figure some things out there. I'm willing to do this on behalf of our council and be our representative or liaison and try to form a task force that will fix this problem with mini season. And that being said, this is sort of like the unholy convergence of events where we have a pandemic and we have mini season, neither of which seem to be very popular. I really do appreciate our local law enforcement, our sheriff's office, our FWC officers. They are put in an untenable position with this event on an annual basis, much less one now where we have to deal with pandemic concerns as well. You guys have my absolute appreciation, and I really do understand the position we put you in. However, we need to do what we have to do to protect our residents as well, and this seems to be sort of a compromised position where we can do just that. For our residents out there, it's going to be a situation where, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. We realize we're not making everybody very happy. There seemed to be a compromise that might work in the best interest of everyone. So the last thing I'll leave you with is please just stay safe. If you don't have to be out in the water those 2 days, don't. The lobsters will be there. waiting for you when times are a little more reasonable. And the only thing, the good news about this is that when you're out on the water, you're socially distanced for the most part. So stay safe, do what you got to do, and wash your hands, wear a mask.
All right, Mr. Sen Martin. Thank you, Mr. Bartis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I appreciate staff and everybody getting together and getting this meeting done quickly. Thank you, Vice Mayor Gonzalez, for calling the meeting. It was an important thing to address. I wish we could have addressed it earlier. And I'm going to be dead honest with you. I was hoping this was not something we were going to have to address. I was hoping we were going to be able to take different action earlier, sooner, but it didn't work that way. And with the conditions that we were pushed into, this seemed like the smartest, best option for protecting our residents. And yes, I mean from the COVID, and I mean from exposure, and I mean from more people here, but I also mean from a traffic standpoint. We are hopefully going to put up some good messaging at the top of the keys, release press releases to the news organizations, let them know that boat ramps are not open all the way past the 7 Mile Bridge. And with any luck, that is going to deter some of the day trippers from coming down. So that's kind of where I was going with that. They're all coming from close, which is, unfortunately the highest infected area. And this is something that we have to take seriously. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. I know in 2 weeks there's going to be more coming, but you know what? We can only hold back the dam for so long. But I think we need to definitely take this step to help protect our people. So I thank everybody for their cooperation, and Sheriff Office, like I said, I'm more than willing to be there to help. I will lock my store up, and I will be there whatever days you give me a call and let me know what shift you want me there, and I'm more than happy to be there to help. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sen Martin. Dr. Zig.
Well, I think this was an interesting and valuable discussion, and it goes very well to protect our residents. I do think it was too narrow to just limit it to Marathon residents only, but I know that our Marathon residents will benefit greatly. Thank you very much, and good luck to FWC and MCSO with your trials and tribulations next week. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Vice Mayor?
I'm trying to get back. Together at such short notice, and this is obviously the beginning of many more conversations that we're going to be having in the future with this event. So I'm glad that at least we've got something in place moving forward, and stay safe.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Let me follow that up with thanks to Mr. Galen Jones, Avernus and Bowling, and the team for putting this meeting together on such short notice. Thanks to city staff for coming together with that team as one team and putting this together as reasonably, as seamlessly as possible, even the fact that we're having some bandwidth issues today. I would like to thank the public for their interaction and their input. Many thanks in advance to the members of the MCSO and the sheriff and the members of the FWC from within Monroe County and from outside who live in some of the places that everybody talks about not liking. I'm sick to death of hearing how awful some people are. They're frustrated. We're all frustrated. This is a global thing, not a Miami thing. So we need to be patient and we need to be gracious with all of our guests, even if they're not gracious with us. And I would ask that all would follow CDC guidelines and Monroe County guidelines and orders for social distancing and hygiene. And with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. I need to knock?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'm just staying on until everybody gets off. Otherwise, I'll kick them off by me leaving.
Oh, very good. I'm signing off. Thanks.